I went go ahead and connect to Wi-Fi, but I pressed go live by accident. So now we're live. I'm
Now we're
sorry.
live.
If
Hey, we're
this is
live.
if this turns out to be a nightmare, then I will take full responsibility for that. But how are you doing anyway?
Oh man, yeah, I'm doing really good. Getting into my routine out here in Alicante. It's been a nice break from that intense month of filming that I just had in London, but yeah, just been able to get back into the gym. So I'm feeling better physically now, and then just hitting it hard on the editing. Really, that's been my main focus while being out here. And then I've got something scheduled for New York next month, so I'll be flying out to New York to help a guy out there.
Hmm. And whilst you were in London, what do you think were some of the biggest takeaways that might be useful for the guys watching this? Because you were approaching for almost 30 days straight, which is a crazy amount to be out hitting it. Like, what do you think were just some takeaways, just to start off with some sort of value for the guys?
So, first takeaway would be the importance of being filmed and having your audio recorded in order to audit yourself and ideally to have Christian coach you through the things that you're doing wrong and the things that you are doing well that you should keep doing. So, what I noticed when I was in London is even having been approaching for 2.5 years at this point, I pulled a lot of value out of being able to watch myself back and listen to myself again. I'm still seeing areas where I need to improve, and those would have been completely lost on me had I just continued on with my approach that I was doing prior to London. So it almost felt like another immersion because I got to see myself daily and hear myself daily, hear what was going wrong and what needed to be corrected. So the first thing that I pulled that should be a value for your audience is if you can get the get the visual and get the audio recorded. One or the other works as well, but both work much better because you'll be able to see where you're going wrong in the approach. I found that a lot of beginners, the technique is just off entirely. And then the bigger place where you'll probably need work is the delivery of what you're saying, how you're coming across to women when you're speaking to them. So that'd be my first takeaway. My second takeaway would be the importance of putting in a lot of reps in a condensed period of time. Because I was able to be filming for 3 hours a day for 30 days straight, as you can imagine, I put in a lot of reps. I did a lot of approaches. And so I found throughout my entire life that the most growth has come for me in very specific pockets of time where I'm just completely focused on one thing and just iterating on that one thing as intensely as I can. So what ties into that as well is the momentum because it would be a lot different if I did 3 hours of filming once a month for 30 months versus every day for a month straight. So that momentum that I built carried me into each and every day. And it just felt like each day was building on top of the last day. That doesn't mean that the results got better day over day. It fluctuated just like it always does. But as far as the way that my confidence was being built and the way that I was showing up into these conversations, there was just a very intense pocket of growth in that month. So that would be the second takeaway: the importance of momentum and of a condensed period of time. And then the third takeaway, which is probably the most important for your audience, is the importance of being coached. When I was out there and I was being filmed on camera and I was going into each and every approach, because of the skills you taught me during our immersion back in Warsaw, I was able to apply the same techniques that you were using on me by saying, okay, look at what you're doing wrong, look at what's working and what's not. If you have a string of interactions that goes similarly, try to find a common thread to see what you could be doing poorly and what you need to improve on. And so I was able to pull those same skills that you taught me back way back in 2023 and just self coach, which I think was one of the most important parts of our coaching experience together. Was you gave me the ability to coach myself to come out of that immersion experience and know what to look out for to continue improving the skills so that I didn't need you by my side anymore and I can just get better on my own. So the third and most important takeaway from London specifically would be, yeah, if you've been hovering around, I mean, you see that he's running immersions right now in London, and right, or the audience member who's been considering being coached by you, they know that they could expedite their progress by simply having somebody in their corner that's very specialized at the skill set, guiding them through each and every step of how to build it. So I would encourage guys to invest into themselves because we pay with time or we pay with money. And me personally, I know that I can get money back. I can go and earn some cash any means necessary. But I'm not getting any younger here. So I'm just so happy that I made the investment with you 2 years ago because it's expedited not just my relationship life, but my life in general, which I'm sure we're going to get into on the stream. But yeah, those are my main takeaways from London.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I did the first day of coaching with one of our entourage guys today. He ended the session doing 35 approaches in the space of 3.5 hours. And he was somebody who's been watching both of our content for a long time. And the thing that he said to me was, I can't believe it's taken me so long to get here. And almost in like an annoying way for him because he was like, I can't believe it's taken me so long to get here, like with a tone of regret. But what I said to him was, "You're here now, dude. You know, he's someone in his 30s. He's building a career for himself, successful in lots of different areas. But it's never too late to start. And I think a big reason why many guys do suck with women is ego gets in the way. I think reaching out for help in this area is quite uncomfortable. Like, no guy really wants to approach a dating coach and be like, hey, dude, I'm not getting any action. Can you help me? But I think the same fear you have to overcome to approach a coach is the same fear you have to overcome to approach a woman. It's kind of the same thing. It's the ego, it's like self preservation, right? You don't want to look like some lesser value dude. You don't want to feel embarrassed. You want to try and avoid, I don't know, looking like some outcast of some way. But after 35 approaches today, he just didn't give a fuck anymore. He was like, yeah, cool, I've done 35 approaches. This is awesome. I actually can feel a huge shift in my psyche. And another one of the guys that I coached last week, who you've met, 52-year-old guy, he said the same thing. Oh, I wish I hadn't have left it so late. But he's been on 3 dates this week. One of the dates was with a 19-year-old, and he's 52. And the mantra that I always like to use for guys is belief follows action. You know, if you get a 52-year-old guy who's telling himself a story, I'm too old, I've left it too late, my best years are behind me, on his own, he's probably not going to pull the trigger. But once he's paid his money and he's flown to a new city and he's just getting pushed into hundreds of approaches over a weekend, you start to write a new story. I do think that's why guys stuck with women, because I think a lot of guys try and prioritize belief over behavior. And something that I've learned is it's more important to prioritize behavior over belief. Because if you've never done an approach before, it's almost impossible to believe you could do it. So what I get guys to do is just prioritize the behavior. A guy who was good with women, how would he operate? Like, what actions would he take? And mimic those behaviors, because you're not going to get the belief until you've taken the action. So by mimicking the behavior, i.e., approaching 35 women, you're going to get closer to the identity of a man who is good with women because he takes a lot of shots. So I think that's like one of the biggest takeaways for me recently is prioritizing the behaviors over the beliefs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I might have frozen here. Can you hear me? Here we are.
I can
Yeah, I would. Perfect. Yep. I'd agree with that. Yeah, it was a pleasure getting to meet your client back when I met him in LA. That was fun. And yeah, I remember he was saying similar stuff to me as well. It's interesting that guys will let their ego get in the way of living the life that they actually want to live. It's pretty sad, honestly, because especially once you realize how fragile the ego is and how insignificant it is when you can overcome it, you're maybe not the viewer specifically, but a lot of guys are living in they're living a life that they are dissatisfied with, that they were told they're supposed to live, rather than actually being satisfied within their everyday life. That was a big thing that I took away from our experience as well, is that I can create whatever life I want to. So breaking through this fear of approaching women taught me that there's probably a lot of other fears that I have surrounding life in general, because I was taught a certain way, I was brought up by certain people, but they're living a life that I look at and I go, it looks decent, don't get me wrong, but I just want more for myself, or at least different for myself. And so the belief that was transferred during our Warsaw experience allowed me to look at my life holistically and go, where else am I dissatisfied? And can I apply the same thinking and the same work ethic that I applied to learning the skill of daytime cold approach to these other areas of life? And it's the best part is we've been making these streams for about 2 years now. And 2 years ago, I was saying all of this in theory, future projecting, and now I'm actually living it out. So we've got an actual video content timeline of me going through the stuff that you were teaching me, and I'm still going through it, but I'm a lot further along than I was back then. And yeah, it's amazing the transformation, the holistic life transformation that happens when you build a skill set so specialized and so unorthodox like daytime approach. But yeah, to your point, it's unfortunate that guys will wait decades. They'll come across this space and they'll wait a decade before reaching out for help. And all that is the ego. Maybe they're worried that the coach has something that they don't, or that the coach is better than them in some way, physically, psychologically, whatever. But if you can just lower that barrier for yourself and realize that it's okay, and realize that Christian's not somebody that's going to judge you, right? That's one of the specifically one of the reasons I reached out to Christian, is because I could tell based on the fact that he posted rejection reels of himself, that he can make fun of himself in his content, that if I reached out to him with this vulnerable area of my life, he wouldn't respond by laughing at me or dismissing me or demeaning me. Instead, he would act as a guiding support type person in my life. And so that's exactly what happened. But yeah, I mean, the good news is, like you just said, just because you've gone 10 years without taking action doesn't mean you can't take action today, tomorrow, and subsequent days and weeks as well, because we're not getting any younger. At the end of the day, we could sit here and cry about how it took us so long to reach out and build the skill set, or we can look at the guys that you've been coaching recently and go, okay, well, they had their regrets. They wish they started 10 years earlier, but they didn't. Now they're here. Now they're taking action, and like you said, the guy's got 3 dates lined up from your immersion experience with him. Your guy today did 35. I mean, that is insane. 35 approaches after having never approached women in public before is, I mean, it just shows what happens when you have the right support system in your life. So completely agree.
Yeah, and I just think that the more I teach this and the more that I do, because I've been doing filling myself this time round, I just see more and more that it just comes down to somebody's balls. Like we can talk about looks and height and race and all the other things that guys like to talk about. But what I found to be true time and time again is it's just the guys who pull the trigger unapologetically. They understand not every woman is going to want them, and that's okay. They view rejection more as a filter to find their women. But I see it time and time again. The guys who get the best results with this, they're just relentless. They can just keep putting themselves in there, not lose enthusiasm if things don't go their way. And I just think having that level of balls to just put yourself in there, regardless of how the approach goes. And I think we talk a lot about confidence. It can feel quite an abstract thing, like, oh, you just need to be confident. But the way that I see confidence is the removal of doubts. I think that's why a lot of guys don't take action, because the hesitation is there. They feel the doubt, and then they have these conversations that limits their, let's say, potential. But I think if you're able to remove doubt, a lot of guys use alcohol in order to achieve that. But once doubt is removed, you almost get closer to who you actually are beneath all the bullshit. And the guy today that I was coaching, after 35 approaches, he was just riding on that godly frequency where he felt as though he could do anything. But at the start of the day, he had the doubt there. But by prioritizing the behavior and just talking to lots and lots and lots of women, by the end of today, he was feeling on top of the world. He was thinking, I can approach anybody. He was approaching on busy streets when lots of people were watching. He was approaching pairs of girls who were with friends. He was approaching girls that once upon a time, he was saying, she's out of my league. I could never approach her. She's too intimidating. But we just prioritized the behavior. I just kept pushing him in there until he didn't have the excuse anymore, because he did it so many times today. I'm like, dude, the fuck are you talking about? You already approached the absolute worldie back there. Just go do it again. Oh, look, there's another one. And halfway through the session, he was just taking shots on his own without me even needing to point anybody out. And that was awesome. I remember I went into the Tesco near Covent Garden. You might have been in that Tesco when you were filming. And I went in to get a bottle of water. I'd come out, and the motherfucker, he was approaching without me. he was approaching without me. I was like, where's he gone? And he came back with a smile on his face. I'm like, dude, did you just do an approach whilst I was getting that water? He was like, yeah. He's like, I can't help myself now. It became addicting. And this was a guy that a couple of hours ago, like just the thought of going over to somebody was terrifying. And we worked through that together gradually to the point where a couple of hours later, he's pulling the trigger without needing any push from me. And if you can do that on your own after a couple of hours, imagine what you can do in a couple of years. So I think by getting that push at the start and then being able to take the shots on your own, yeah, I just thought that was amazing progress for the guy, and I'm super proud of what he achieved today, because 35 approaches in a few hours is fucking awesome.
That's no small feat. And I wanted to talk a bit about what you said there. The removal of doubt is how you define confidence. And that's so true. And it's something that we don't consider enough about, because think about it. Yes, we want to remove the doubt, but the way to remove the doubt is not to consume more content and more theory and to somehow think that now when we go outside, for your client's example, you said he had binged your content for years. So he had everything that he needed he was more than equipped to walk over to the girl, but what he was missing was the removal of the doubt. So he still had all these doubts, even though he could see exactly how to approach, what he should say to start off the conversation, and everything involved. He could watch your content and try to copy it as much as he wanted to, but the fact is he just didn't even try to copy it until you were actually by his side. And so the removal of doubt doesn't mean watch enough theory and then all of a sudden the doubt's going to dissolve. You remove the doubt through taking the action that removes the doubt. Or I guess to phrase this better, you remove the doubt by taking the action of the person who doesn't have the doubt. And slowly but surely you become the person who doesn't have the doubt. So rather than trying to watch our content and figure this out and navigate around, okay, well maybe if I watch another infield, all of a sudden the doubt's gonna leave my body. Instead, you have to systematically destroy the doubt in person by doing the activities that the person that has no doubt, such as Christian, such as myself and the guys in the entourage, doing the activities that we can do, that we do. do. So rather than sitting around watching content, if guys would just take the action, they would find that the confidence is within them already. They need to uncover it. But here's the thing: is I was in a similar boat. It took me not very long to reach out to you, but I was also binging infields, thinking that okay, just another infield, and all of a sudden the doubt will dissolve. So the reality is, just like a lot of skills, but specifically skills that cover a vulnerable area where our ego is so attached, it can be difficult to take these actions that we're talking about just on your own. There is a huge jump from consuming the content to actually going outside and applying the content. So that's why rather than trying to figure it out on my own and theorize my way through this process, I just decided to reach out to you 2.5 years ago. I just figured like, I could try to take the long route here. I could just bang my head against the wall, just go out, have no idea what I'm doing, have no idea how I'm actually coming across to these girls with my delivery, and try to self correct the entire way through it. Or I can just reach out to an expert and have him sort this out for me at the drop of a hat. Yeah, and I don't want to misguide guys, because it's not like Christian's going to wave a magic wand and all of a sudden everything's going to be sorted. But the power that you're getting when you reach out to him is you've got somebody who already lives the life you want to live by your side, guiding you through it. So whenever you do make a mistake, rather than being unaware that the mistake was made, you've got somebody completely zeroed in on you, listening into what you're saying, able to take mental notes, able to show you the footage back in real time, and really walk you through the process of how to improve. Because the key here is, if a guy is just starting out, he just doesn't even know what to look out for in order to improve, just like any skill set. Yeah. And so if I'm trying to learn the piano on my own, I just don't even know where to start. So rather, I hire an expert to teach me how to do it. Not only will that condense the time that it takes, but also in our case, you connected me to a group of guys who you'd already coached. And then that competition factor was in play as well. So I didn't just leave that experience in Warsaw and go, yeah, I mean, I could approach every now and then when I want to, because I saw guys in the group that were flying, that were talking about all the dates they had lined up, and I went, okay, I don't want to fall to the wayside here. I want to actually get just as good as these guys at the skill set. And so, just having that support network around me allowed me to not regress when I did leave that experience in Warsaw. And I mean, now we see what that's blossomed into, right? Is not only somebody who's just really solid at approach, but now it's blossomed into somebody who's just solid, a more solid individual. Yeah, I don't want to be arrogant and gloat, but I look at myself now and I look at myself before we met, and I see two completely different people, even though I look exactly the same.
Mm. Yeah, and success is contagious, right? Proximity is power, and I think you do become what you compare yourself to. But I think it is good to gloat, and I think it is good to be arrogant. We talk a lot about this in the entourage, definitely recently, which is I do think one of the best superpowers for guys is just to be more narcissistic, especially if you're already out there and you're doing approaches and you're building a business, you're traveling the world, you're creating value on the planet. I think a lot of guys are held back by their lack of narcissism, their lack of ability to celebrate themselves, like treat themselves like they are the main character in their own movie, like move through the world with, even if it's delusional at the start. I think that's a great place to start. I was completely delusional when I started. I was sat on the floor in that grotty apartment being like, I can become the best in the world at this. At the time, we had £24.82 in universal credit, a porn addiction, and a dick that didn't work. I was completely delusional, but it fucking worked. And that's what I try and get across to my guys. And you do become successful through osmosis. I do think learning the skill from somebody who's further ahead is a cheat code. But when the guy met up with me today, he was like, this was way more intense than I expected it to be. Similar to our experience in Warsaw. You know how I am in person. When I'm excited about the version of yourself who this skill can work for. I think once guys have spent time with me or somebody else who lives and breathes this stuff, they notice a gap. There's like, oh, it's not just an approach gap, it's a life gap. There's so many more areas that I need to improve. For the right guys, that massively inspires them because they can see, okay, there's not really anything special about this guy. He's just taken a lot of reps. And that's kind of the formula for this game. The more action you take, the more confident you feel. The more confident you feel, the less doubt you experience. And the less doubt you experience, the better the results are because you actually have this belief in yourself. You have this optimism in the absence of certainty. You're like, you know what? I might not know what I'm doing right now, but I'm just going to take a shot regardless. And I really like that element of the in person coaching. And you'll know this because you've started coaching people as well. Somebody who lives and breathes the skill that they want to learn because it becomes them. It becomes them through you. So I don't know. I just think that's a really cool byproduct. I think it's certainly more valuable than just watching somebody approach online. Is if you're with them in the field, you just pick up all of these nuances. So I think you don't really see that in the videos. You don't really see how loud I am, or you don't really see how I actually move. And then when you're with me in person, it's like, fuck me, this is a complete different ball game here. Like this guy can't just teach me about approach. He can teach me a lot about social sovereignty. And I just think that's a cool thing, helping guys become more free. Because I don't know. I think more guys want to feel that. Do you know what I mean? Just like free, sovereign individuals who can go after the fun, if that makes sense.
Social sovereignty. IP that, mate. That was quite
I
the
will.
phrase you used. I love it. So
I'll trademark it. Thanks.
yeah, trademark it, mate. That was good. Social sovereignty. Well, I experienced firsthand what you're describing with your client today. I remember when I rocked up to Warsaw and we met for the first time. It was it was 100% different than what I expected. So coming into this, which is why I could relate to a lot of your audience, I thought that you were just going to teach me how to walk over, what to say, and how to run a conversation. I was almost more in this PUA type of headspace, thinking that this is a ones and zeros type of game. Put this input, get certain output. But very quickly, just like you mentioned, I learned that there's a lot more to this and to Christian and the coaching that he delivers to his clients than the skill set of cold approach. So, really, what I got access to when I was coached by you was I got to hijack your brain for the time that we were together and squeeze everything out of it that was different than what I was doing. And it's interesting because some guys might see that as a sort of a brainwashing type experience. Now, I have my own opinions on that. I thought that would have been that's a good thing, anyways. But to separate the concept, really, it's using the brain of somebody who has the results and lives the life that I wanted to live, and then comparing it to the brain that I was operating with and how I was moving about the world, and the fact that excuse me, it had gotten me to a life that I didn't like to live. And so the biggest benefit I got from reaching out to you and working with you in person privately was I got to just stop thinking about all of the worries and the fears that I had up until 23 years old in my life. And I started to look over at how you operated throughout the world. And I remember the biggest tension point early on was that you were speaking so loudly about the concept of approach and flirting and dating. And I was so scared of that expression. I just wasn't socially sovereign. Is that it? Free. I wasn't socially free at that point. And so I just remember like in my head thinking, oh my God, this guy needs to be quieter. Like, isn't this kind of sketchy what we're doing? Isn't this a bit shady? But because you had owned the entire thing, it created space for me to now step into the same shoes and go, oh, wait a second. So this is okay to do. Not only is it okay, but it's encouraged behavior. Women prefer this version of Ephraim compared to the one that I was delivering in the past, which was absent. I wasn't delivering him at all. He was hiding behind apps and algorithms. So when I learned that not only is this okay behavior, but it's encouraged behavior, then I started to see so many different holes in my life in general, where I was going, okay, well, my parents and everybody around me growing up told me that life should go a certain way and follow a certain structure. But I've just been introduced to a guy, this maverick from Leeds district, what is it, Lake District in the UK, that lives life on his own terms, and he's living a life that more aligns with the one that I want to live. So how is it possible that I can take the path that everybody else is telling me to take, but get to his result? So really what I realized is I needed to change everything about how I was viewing the world in order to achieve this sort of a lifestyle. And obviously that's a pretty grandiose sentence there. And it wasn't accomplished in one coaching experience, but that was the catalyst that I needed to take a step back and look at my life from a third person perspective and go, okay, if I want to live on my own terms, I need to grow into the kind of person that can do that. And so I guess the point I'm driving home here is very early on, I realized it went deeper than day game. I thought I was reaching out to Christian to learn how to get girls. And the hilarious part is nowadays, that's the least of my worries. I already know in the back of my head, whenever I want to date, I can go and produce a date. And so I'm so not focused on that anymore. I'm looking at the rest of my life and going, okay, where can I apply the same mentality to the career aspects? Yeah. And so now being attached to you, I remember coaching with you heavily over the last 3 months, and you gave me the confidence. Really, it was like siphoning confidence from you. You gave me the confidence to just say fuck it, look at my actual worst case scenario, which is usually never as bad as we make it up in our head, and then to just go for it, just take the risk, just quit the job. Yeah, for your audience who doesn't know, I have a very technical background in software. So I was a remote software engineer and a remote software salesman. And on paper, most people look at that and think, why would you leave that? Right? That seems like a very tried and tested route that you can work for the rest of your life and just live a pretty solid life. But it wasn't enough for me. I didn't just want that. I wanted the alluring parts of life. I wanted the experiences that I didn't even know were out there. I just wanted to jump 2 feet, face first into the unknown and just figure it out from there. And now, actually living that life that I'm describing, that you coached me through, I'm realizing, firstly, it wasn't even as scary as I thought it was. Yeah, most of the fear was the fear that was being built in my head. And so that's what I mean. Like, the concept of being afraid to approach the girl really does leak out into every other area of our life. So when you're attached to somebody like Christian and a group like the Entourage, you're not just learning how to, quote, pick up girls. That part you'll be able to do with your eyes closed after you get coached by him. What you're really learning to do is live the life that you truly desire deep down in your core, not the politically correct life that you pretend to desire, but the one that you dream about, the one that you wake up and you when you're in your cubicle typing away at your desk job, that on paper looks really good, you think about, yeah, that's in the back of your mind going, I wish I was there doing that instead of here doing what everybody else told me I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, and it's that removal of doubt again, isn't it? It's the same hesitation that you have to approach the same hesitation you have to approach that girl is the same hesitation you have to leave your job, is the same hesitation to have the difficult conversation with a family member. And I think all of us are so conditioned, we don't even realize we've been conditioned until you go out onto the streets and some bozo tells you you're going to do 35 approaches today, dude. That's when the mirror gets held up to you. That's when you find out the conditioning. That's when you discover the bullshit. You realize all of the limiting beliefs which have held you back for so long. And yeah, I think when that mirror gets held up to guys, it is a liberating experience. I think once you put at least 100 of these reps in, your life is never the same again. And I think you walk through the world with, as you would describe it, you have this quiet confidence, don't you? You have this quiet confidence that you can do something the majority of men can't do. And it feels like real life Fight Club. It's almost like this secret underground movement of guys who are slowly hacking the dating game, not through apps, nightclubs, or social circles, but by being socially sovereign individuals who've got a big set of balls and can just stampede into fear like their lives depend on it. I think that's awesome. And it really just makes you feel good in yourself as well. Like you get to the end of the day, you feel exhausted with accomplishment. You're like, do you know what, dude? I truly lived life today. And that's what the guy that I was coaching today, that's what he really wanted. He'd had so many days where he hadn't taken the action. He walked home, he felt disappointed, he'd consumed more theory, red pill stuff, black pill stuff. He'd try and reread the game, but the answers weren't in the pages and the answers weren't on the screen. The answers were outside, right? So it's the perceived effort you can put in. Even if you don't get any phone numbers, dates, happy endings, if you've gone out and you've done something today which terrified the living shit out of you, and you've repeated that to failure, you have the best meals of your life. You get home and your steak has never tasted so good. It's like, whoa, that felt like a true Renaissance day today. And if you can stack many of those back to back to back, you create a new normal for yourself. I understand a lot of guys, it's difficult to understand these things until you start living it. But at the end of today, the guy said to me, all of your content makes sense now. All the things that you say on camera, now it makes sense because now I'm living it. I say random shit like the way you start is not the way you finish. Belief follows action. Go to give. The rep is the reward. If you're not approaching, all of that's just wanking in the wind. It's kind of like saying to a guy who can't see color, try to describe the color blue to him. He's got no fucking idea. And then the moment he sees it, he's like, oh yeah, that's what blue looks like. So you don't know what you don't know until you start experiencing it. And there might be something that you wanted to add there. If so, great. But I also wanted to drill down into your recent coaching experiences with your clients to sort of pick your brains on that. But was there anything you wanted to add to that little expostulation before we go over there?
Yeah, honestly, I just wanted to reiterate that point there, that it's not going to make sense if you're not taking action. But as soon as you start to walk the path that we're describing, that Christian illuminates for you when you actually do work together, all of the stuff that he said, I went through the same thing 2 years ago where I'd watched his content and I was like, yeah, belief follows action, sure. I just want to learn how to get the dates. But very quickly, I realized into our immersion, oh, this is what he means. I have to walk over even though I lack the self belief, because walking over is what builds the self belief. Yeah, and all of the mantras that you say, they started to click in my head, and yeah, just I realized very quickly that there's a lot more that goes into this than lines and routines. And the one thing that really made me reach out to you, besides how honest and transparent you are about this entire process, any girl's phone number, or you'll get to a point where you never get rejected. And I just knew that it couldn't be the case. And so when I came across your content, you talked more about the holistic life transformation, the character rewiring that happens versus the result that we're after. And then the reason I liked it so much is because very quickly I realized I was actually after the identity. I thought I was after the girl, but really I was after the version of Ephraim that could get the girl whenever he wanted. And so now, having gotten much closer to achieving the identity that I wanted to, obviously, it's an oxymoron because every time I achieve the identity I wanted to, he's 10 yards down the road, giving me new challenges to run after to continue improving. But if my goal when working with you was to learn how to get dates on demand, I achieved that goal within a week of working with you, and I only got better at it over these last 2 years. And so when we were working together in Warsaw, I came to you thinking what I wanted was those dates. But now looking back, I realized I didn't. I mean, I wanted the dates. Don't get me wrong, but really, what I was after was the version of Ephraim who could get the dates when he wanted those dates. And now that that version has been chiseled out, I don't even want the dates anymore. It's the weirdest paradigm that shifted for me, because I remember during my coaching in London, or excuse me, my filming in London, we had that conversation about how I should just go 1 month completely focused on content and not even worried about dates. And when I went through that month, I just taught myself I can have all of the dates available for me, and I can say no to all of them. And what that helped me realize was I wasn't actually after the dates. I really just wanted to know that I could get the dates. And now that I know I can get them, I'm on to the next thing. Now I want to know that I can change lives. Now I want to know that I can impact the world in a very, very great way. And so that's my next mission here. But yeah, it's a funny way that that works. So, but yeah, I'm happy to discuss the coaching with some specific questions.
Yeah, I would say though, for guys who've got experience in the game and maybe they've hit a bit of a plateau, maybe they feel scarcity mindset kicking back in. One of the best exercises you can do is go out, do 20 approaches, maybe you get 6 or 7 phone numbers, delete all of the numbers. Delete all of them. Even if they're solid numbers, delete every single one of them, because what that will teach you is abundance. That is abundance thinking. If you can if you can have all of the food in the world and get rid of it because you know you've got the skills to have it again, or you can just give all of your money away to some charitable cause because you understand money's abundant, whatever you spend, you'll make back. I think to truly hit that super abundant mindset is doing what the both of us do, not pursuing anything with the girls on camera, but instead getting the numbers, deleting the numbers, and viewing that as an exercise in abundance, because most guys are lucky if they get one match every 3 months on an app and they stick to that person like sellotape because they don't know where their next meal's coming from. But if you can go out and collect 6 or 7 good contact details and potentially have dates lined up for that week, if you can get rid of all of those numbers, you become a dangerous player in the marketplace because you've proved to yourself you've got the capability of replacing those numbers. And I think once you're able to do that, get phone numbers and never reach out to the girl again or delete the number straight away, you become a different product. And now it's almost like an accidental benefit of creating this content and coaching it is I'm just deleting those numbers. I'm not pursuing anything with the girls on camera. And it allows me to develop almost this psychopathic element, this psychopathic level of abundance where I'm just like, I'm good. Like I'm good with it. I'm good without it. So I think that's just a really great exercise for guys to experiment with. More so for guys who've got skin in the game and they are getting dates. and they are living more of that rock star lifestyle, just go out one day this week, do a shitload of approaches, and just delete all the numbers that you get. You'll feel a completely super abundant individual, and you won't feel needy anymore. It'll honestly change your life, because it changed the way that I approach dating. I can have these hot girls and never pursue them, because I know next week there'll be even more and more and more. So I just think that's a really great exercise for guys who are more experienced to practice.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad that we had that discussion, because after doing that, it allowed me to just hit the next threshold when it comes to not just the skill set, but life game overall. Because, yeah, I recognize that what I thought I was after is not actually what I was after. I was more after the ability to get the girl, not the girl herself. And so now that I have the ability to get the girl, the fact that I can have it, delete all the phone numbers, and just pour all of my energy into the content and into the lives, improving the lives of other guys rather than into my own self pleasure, it turned me into a different kind of a social weapon. Yeah, and so now I'm just more focused on creation and impact over self satisfaction. Or I guess a better way to phrase it is, more of my satisfaction now is coming from seeing other guys get to this level versus me just enjoying the fruits of my labor. So yeah, I'd agree. Super powerful exercise. Obviously, specifically if you're a guy who's been in the game. If you're somebody who's just getting into approach, or maybe you've just been coached, go have your fun. Yeah, get that out of your system. It's a rite of passage after all. But yeah, you'll hit a point where the experiences, the dates, they'll stop feeling as magical as they once did, and that is the point when it's time to level up. You're ready to hit the next threshold, and so I would encourage guys to absolutely do that same exercise. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And now, with obviously with your experiences, because you've been coaching guys in different parts of the world, which I think is an insane evolution. Yeah, 2.5 years ago you learned the skill. 2.5 years later, you're teaching the skill. I just think that's great. I think that's awesome. I think it's a beautiful natural evolution. You learn something and then you teach something. I think you don't really know something until you're able to teach it. So with the guys that you've been working with, what have you noticed in them? Have there been specific, consistent, let's call them sticking points or roadblocks that you've been able to help these guys through, which might be applicable to other guys who are watching this, maybe limiting beliefs or something, anything which they've been struggling with, which you've been able to help those guys through? And if you can provide some examples, I think that would be really valuable for guys.
Oh, absolutely. I see a lot of what I went through with you in these guys and in these coaching experiences. So the first main one is this underlying feeling of shame, being ashamed of my desires, thinking that there was something shady or illegal about being attracted to hot women and acting upon that impulse in public. I thought that there was something wrong with that feeling and that other guys somehow didn't feel it, or they just had the ability to get over it. And what you helped me learn, and now what I'm also delivering to my guys during these coaching experiences, are that shame is all in our head. Yeah, it's probably reinforced growing up, or built and reinforced as we grow up, especially in this PC 2025 society. But it only exists as much as you allow it to exist. In reality, there's nothing wrong with you desiring, having sexual desires, having romantic desires, and actually pursuing those. And so, the same way you were able to teach me that back in 2023, I'm able to show these guys that I'm coaching around the world the exact same experience. Yeah, where their eyes are finally opening for the first time, and they're going, "Oh, wait a second, I'm allowed to like women? This whole time I thought it had to be a secret. This whole time I thought I had to be super indirect and beat around the bush to get to my desired outcome." And so that's not the case at all. They're learning that from me now.
You
Another
know,
thing I would
you
say
know what?
is the
Before
well,
you
firstly,
oh, oh, I think we might have got. Sorry, I think I just cut you off there, but I just think that's a super important thing to underscore. Is this element of shame, and you're not going to get over that shame by reading books. You're probably not even going to get over that shame by going to a therapist and talking about your shame for a year. That's probably just going to amplify it. Whatever shame you're feeling towards your sexuality as a guy, you will override that through cold approach by going over to people who you find attractive and giving compliments. That is the way you'll overcome this shame, this weird thing that you live in your life like a closet heterosexual. you'll get over that very quickly by doing the thing that terrifies you, giving compliments, declaring your desire to the world in the same way that if you see a nice car, you're like, oh, beautiful car. Same way if you see a beautiful woman, you don't have any shame towards the car. It doesn't need to be the same towards women. I think in the modern world, women are crying out for that as well. They want a masculine leader, a guy who has the balls, who has the conviction, who's removed the doubt in his mind by taking lots and lots and lots of action. And if you can overcome that shame through something like approach, you become so much more powerful in yourself because you're no longer afraid anymore of your own masculinity. And I just think that's a beautiful place to be. But I think that shame element is really important. So I just wanted to underscore that because I think a lot of guys are crippled by that.
100%. Yeah, I was crippled by that for 98% of my life or something like that. In person, and you walked me through how to get over that, did I finally realize that it was just something that was in my head. It wasn't actually real. I was just assigning realness to it. It's only a lot of these fears and worries, they only exist in our heads. And so the next thing that I wanted to talk about to your question is you helped me realize, and now I'm helping my clients realize as well, that they were already fuckable the entire time. So I've switched the lingo up a bit. I say dateable now so as to not step on your content. But these guys, firstly, you taught this to me very quickly because I landed in Warsaw and I looked just like this already. And I had gone my entire life thinking that I wasn't enough because of my height, because of my hair type, because of my beard wasn't long enough, or I didn't have enough money, whatever my excuse was during the immersion. And within one day of being coached by you, I got so many positive reference experiences. This doesn't mean I had dates lined up after day one. This means that there were so many women that I approached that told me, thank you for talking to me, that responded really well when I walked over with the proper technique that you taught me during that first day, that it crushed this entire mountain of self limiting belief that I had because I used to think that I needed more and more and more in order to become fuckable finally. But I was actually that guy the entire time. I didn't know how. And so this is exactly what I teach my clients these days is they come to me thinking that they need a more structured job on their frame, but I'm able to show them through action when we're actually privately coaching one-on-one that they are already enough. In fact, my clients are more than enough. Yeah, I know yours as well. We specifically work with guys that have something about them that are high achievers. And so the guys that come to work with me, they've overkilled the other areas of their life. And the only thing that was lagging behind was their dating life. Yeah, they're usually crushing it in some corporate career, or they've got a company that's already taken off. They usually look amazing as far as their physique. Yeah, they've got some muscles, they got some lean muscle, or they're just entirely jacked, like my guy Sam out in LA. And they still have that belief that they need more. They need a lower body fat percentage. They need a higher one rep bench press max, thousands in their bank account, when in reality, they've already gotten everything that they would have ever needed to be attractive to majority of women that they walk over to. Now it's just about learning how to deliver the value that they've spent years and decades building over to the girls that they like. Because the reality is, it doesn't matter how much you work on these accessory areas of your life, the girl is not going to walk over to you. It's an terms with when we build this skill set. It doesn't matter. I guess guys in general need to come to terms with. It doesn't matter how good you look. It doesn't matter how expensive your clothes are or how nice your supercar looks when you drive around the city. The girl's not going to walk over to you and say, "Hi, handsome man, you look like you make so much money. Would you like to go on a date with me?" It needs to be us initiating the relationship, walking over, lowering our ego, and putting our courage on the line in order to let these women know that we exist and that we're available. That's all we need to learn how to do. That's what we learned through Cold Approach. And this is what I teach my guys. You're already enough. Just like you told me back in Warsaw. You looked at me, we had a conversation in a cafe, and you were having trouble getting girls. And I went, yeah, it's been months since I went on my last date. And you almost scoffed at it and you went, yeah, dude, you're already set. You just need to learn how to walk over now. And so that is what I teach my guys as well is you're good enough, man. You don't need any more money. You just need to learn how to deliver the person that you've built yourself into over to the women that you like because they're not going to do it for you.
Yeah. And even if they did approach on the guy's behalf, if the guy is lacking in conviction and charisma and confidence, all of which are built on the streets, then she's just going to realize very quickly this guy's a complete flannel. This guy's not going to do anything for me, you know? Even if you do look great, if you don't know how to lead, if you don't know how to escalate, if you don't know how to dominate, then you're just another good looking guy who might have a bit of cash, but you're not really going to speak to her biology. And that's really I think that's what we're really helping guys to unlearn all of the nonsense so they can reconnect with who they actually are, recognize that, okay, we can all do more to look better or make more or create more. And that's fine. Those are fun games to play. But I think in the area of intersexual dynamics, it's more about the removal compared to the addition. Yeah, cool. You can get biceps the size of coconuts. You can get your eyebrows threaded. You can get your legs snapped in turkey and be 7'2". But Maxwell Maltz talks about it in Psycho-Cybernetics. Many people will get plastic surgery to improve the external, but it doesn't make up for the internal. They still feel like the ugly duckling on the inside. And really, what we're doing with Daytime Approach is we're allowing guys to become more internally, no longer feel like their internal hasn't caught up to their external. And because you just take more and more shots, you almost detach from that lower version of yourself who wants you to play it safe. I think you may well have caught out there momentarily. I did my best to pretend like nothing happened. I'm quite good at that. But no, I was just saying that it really comes down to your confidence, your charisma, and your character. You were saying before, it's more so about chasing an identity as opposed to chasing the women. You know, really prioritizing the behavior over the beliefs. So, hopefully you can still hear. But was there anything else that you've been helping you guys through recently? Because I saw you posted the Isaac video series of the guy that you were coaching over in Belgrade. Was there anything specifically that he was struggling with that you were able to help him with? No, I think his connection might have gone. That's a shame. Oh, we got 52 minutes out of this. Oh, you still there? No. I think your connection is well and truly fucked, mate. But I think that was a great stream, to be honest. Hopefully, people can still hear me. If you can still hear me, I really hope you've enjoyed this stream. I'm not sure what's happened to Ephraim. He seems like he's having a Wi-Fi malfunction, which is really sad. I don't even know if you can hear me at this stage. Oh, you can. I can hear you laughing now. So I think we've caught up to the same timeline now. I think you were back in 1994. Hi, welcome to 2025, dude. What are you using? What are you using for Wi-Fi? Sticks.
Dude, the worst part is it's fucking Google Fi too. That's my data is Google. Shit. Jesus Christ. Well, look, I connected to my Wi-Fi, so I'm okay. Good to continue if you are.
Yeah, definitely.
Still live.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we are still live. Somehow we actually are still live. Fuck knows how. God bless the internet. No, I was just asking about the recent client experience of working with your guy Isaac over in Belgrade. Yeah. I saw that you were posting those videos onto your channel. I think it'd be awesome for guys to go over there onto your channel and watch those coaching videos because I think they're really awesome pieces of content. Was there anything in that coaching experience that that guy in particular was struggling with, which you allowed him to overcome?
Absolutely, yeah. So Isaac was one of my best clients thus far, and it's interesting because he came to me with 600 approaches already under his belt, but he had absolutely no results to show for them. And so most guys would hit the 600 mark and go, all right, cold approach must be a fake. This just doesn't work. But he took a different angle and he thought, okay, maybe I'm just doing something wrong and I just can't see it. And so he reached out to me, he joined my community and then booked some coaching with me out in Belgrade. And the first thing immediately I noticed with Isaac when he demonstrated his approach to me was that he was very passive and going into these approaches very half-heartedly. So when he told me he did 600 approaches, they were 600 half-ass approaches, which to me equates to 0 approaches. So in my mind, we were starting from blank, from a fresh slate when I was coaching him, because he had done 600 of the wrong approaches, which means he was going in the wrong direction. I mean, fair play that he went over, but there's a reason why he had nothing to show for it. And so the first thing I ironed out with Isaac was that he needed to bring his balls with him into these conversations. The guy had done improv classes. Yeah, he already had a flying career as a data analyst. He was already making money. He already owned his own apartment out in London. So on paper, once again, he was the shit. And he looks good as well. Yeah, I like his style. He's taller than me as well, right? So that's an excuse a lot of guys love to use. So on paper, he was good enough, but he wasn't getting the results with approach. And so what I helped him through is firstly learning how to walk over with full conviction. If you're going to go over full balls. No point in going over with half a heart. A rejection's a rejection either way. If she walks past you, at least give yourself a better chance by going over like a man versus like a like a half man, I guess. So, but the one biggest sticking point for Isaac was once he got the technique down, which was very easy for him to pick up on. We got that sorted in about an hour during day one. His next biggest sticking point, which he's since worked through quite a bit. In fact, I've got an entire London series filmed with him that'll be rolling out over the next few months where you can see his improvements, is he was using tepid, half-hearted, watered-down language towards the end when he was trying to set up a date with the girls he was speaking with. So he had no problem stopping the girl. He had no problem getting her engaged in conversation and having a fun, vibrant conversation. But then when it came time to setting up a date, he still was so new to this new identity that he had uncovered. It was still catching up with him. Or I guess he was still catching up with his new identity. And so he was so surprised that he had gotten so far in the approach because the prior 600 that he did before being coached by me went nowhere, that when he was finally at this point of the close and the girl was interested in him and he was trying to set up a date, he would go about it by beating around the bush and saying, well, so I came up to you because you look good and I kind of want to like take you out if that's okay. Or I guess if I can have your Instagram. And he would just, he would burn himself at the very end. And none of the people, none of the girls that actually gave him contact details were replying or coming out on dates. And so really it's more of a deep rooted shame issue once again, thinking that his desires are illegitimate or that they're wrong somehow. And so we spent a lot of time during that experience working through that problem. It's actually something that you've helped me with as well back when I was in Warsaw. I had a very similar experience. I imagine most guys that you coach go through something similar because I was able to get the conversations to go very well, and it seems like everything was going great. But then the girls weren't replying, and so once again, right, the failure type guy looks at that and goes, "Ah, oh, see, cold approach is not viable. All the girls flake." But instead, I took a different approach and I said, "Christian, why is this happening to me, but it doesn't happen to you?" And then you helped me iron that out very quickly. So that's what I've been doing with Isaac over the last few months. Same with you. Whenever I coach somebody, they're with me for the long term. I help my clients for life, just like you've been helping me. And it's insane to think that at one point our relationship was specifically about how to get dates. And now you've coached me through how to build a business, how to live an international lifestyle. And not only is this theory, now it's actually applied because I've left behind a six-figure remote job to fly around the world and coach guys, and I'm living out that reality. So, yeah, it's crazy the value you get when you get in contact with somebody as proficient as Christian. I'd argue he has the best network and the best ability to teach this skill set in the space entirely. And I'm not just saying that, I'm living, breathing proof of that. Not only did I create a channel around the same topic just a couple months after working with Christian, but then I got so good at the skill set, I was able to teach other guys the skill set. Yeah. So it's like Christian is not just good at teaching you how to approach, he can get you so good at approach that if you wanted to teach your little cousin or your brother who always had trouble dating, you can just be like, all right, come on, let's go. I'm going to show you the ropes. So yeah, it's amazing. But to wrap up that statement, yeah, I really liked my time with Isaac, and he's getting better day over day. So I'm excited for when the London series rolls out, because right now guys are seeing him get rejected and battered because that was a day 3 Belgrade. But they have no clue what the guy's up to these days, and obviously I do. I talk to him every day, so yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and I think that that element of overcoming that shame, it's not something that guys are going to get over in one coaching session. I think a coaching session, it holds a mirror up to it. I think it's quite liberating to hear it as well. If you hear it from your coach, like, dude, you're carrying a lot of shame right now. A lot of guys know it, but until someone calls it out, it's not really a thing. In the same way that when I used to be in Bangkok training Muay Thai, I knew my kicks were shit. But like when my coach pointed it out, I'm like, oh, I felt relief. Because I'm like, I know I'm shit, but it's quite affirming to hear it from somebody. You're shit, but with enough practice, you'll get there. And I think it's quite liberating for guys if they've got these limiting beliefs, especially around shame and living like a closet heterosexual. Sometimes that's all guys need to switch it on. Like, hey, dude, I've noticed in your approaches, you're using quite tepid, watered down language. It sounds to me like you're carrying a lot of shame at the moment. How accurate is that? And then you can create a very open ended discourse about, yeah, like it kind of is rooted back in my upbringing. My family were really strict. We grew up with very religious morals, and I never felt as though I could fully express who I was. And I've carried that into my adult life. And I think that's really liberating for guys, just be able to talk about this stuff. I think one of the greatest benefits to getting started with this is the guys you meet along the way. You know what I mean? With the world of AI right now, I think relationships and community are more important than ever. If you can get around good guys and you build strong relationships, I think that's an incredible place to be. So I think a lot of guys are lonely at the moment. They're not just struggling with dating, they're struggling with their social lives as well. It's fucking hard to make friends as an adult. It's hard. You go from school to maybe college, and then you're funneled into the workplace. And it's kind of like trying to get women through your social circle. It's a very restricted process in the same way that when you go into a job, it's like, I guess these people are my friends now. You might have nothing in common with them whatsoever, but proximity brings them into your life. And I think the ability to make these connections socially and sexually, I think is important for guys. I think a lot of guys they're lonely and they're struggling right now. And I think they want to do something about it, but there's that resistance there, resistance to pulling the trigger. But yeah, I do think it's an epidemic in terms of guys feeling lonely, not knowing where to turn to, not having anybody who can normalize going out, being social, meeting people. So yeah, I don't know what you think about that in terms of loneliness amongst men. I think it's a real problem.
It's a huge problem. Yeah, it was one that I was dealing with prior to our experience in Warsaw. That's another benefit that's not talked about enough when we discuss your coaching is the entourage is it's much more than a group of guys that can virtually wing each other or meet up with each other in different cities to quote game. I mean, that's again the smallest benefit that you get when you're linked with guys that think the same way is that you can all do the same activity together. That part's great. But it's really the fact that we're able to connect on such a deep level. Every guy in there has been through something similar to what I have as far as an immersion experience. And so I can look at each guy in the entourage with this underlying assumed respect because know that he had to go through what I had to go through. And he had to bulldoze through those same fears that he had, same ones that I had, in order to get to this level of skill set with cold approach. And so it's not just you're getting connected to random friends, like you mentioned, because you work together. These are strategically chosen people that have to fit a certain criteria as far as character, as far as integrity, and as far as work ethic and intensity in order to actually make the cut into the entourage. And so I can look at all of those guys. I mean, not to mention, I almost have like unlimited places to go now because every continent that I go to except Antarctica, I've got a friend there. I've got somebody that lives there that knows about this space that's been through the gauntlet. That I mean, in our case with my guy from LA, or the person that you've coached in LA as well. He even let me crash at his place when I was doing my coaching in LA, which is crazy to think that I had never met the guy in person, but because there was such a strong bond built through this skill set, through association in the entourage, we felt comfortable enough with each other to just break that barrier immediately before even having met up in person. But I'm so grateful that I've met most of the guys in the entourage in person now. It is one thing knowing each other virtually, but the fact that you organize these worldwide meetups on a very consistent basis, that everybody can fly to each other and meet each other, and then go out and approach and go out and have fun and go to restaurants and have these roundtable deep discussions. It's just, the network is everything. Yeah, and it's like it's the furthest thing from being lonely, because I'm alone here in Alicante. I don't know a soul, but I feel as though I've got so many guys around me. Every time I open up the WhatsApp group, I can look to examples of guys that are putting in reps, guys that are encouraging me, and I'm able to do the same for them. And the last part on the entourage is, the we talk about this concept of momentum and competition. It's so real when you get around guys that are all at the same level or above. So because you have such strict criteria as far as the level that a guy needs to be at, not with approach, but just with life, with drive and ambition, because that criteria is so strict, you're able to filter in only guys that can not just take the skill set to the moon, but that are going somewhere in life. And so that's kept me on track so many times. There's been so many times since I've been coached by you that I could have slipped back into dependency on drugs. I could have gone back to the bong rips and that old life that I was living. But then I can look to the guys in the entourage as an example and go, well, if I continue consistently working out and living this life, I can look as ripped as Joseph when by the time I'm 40. And it keeps my head on straight, and it allows me to just continue pushing forwards. And I'm unrecognizable these days to the people in my life that knew me prior to Cold Approach. Parents, relatives, friends, they all look at me and they're just like, what the fuck happened? It's the entourage effect, baby.
Yeah, and you spend that time over. I think the final thing that I'd find it interesting to discuss is you spent time in Belgrade with two of our other entourage guys, Baltus and Joseph, and you spent quite a considerable amount of time out there together. How was that experience? You know, we spoke about loneliness and we spoke about the importance of having those connections and how important it is to take those virtual connections into physical connections, like going from the internet to real life. And you were with those guys in Belgrade, a city that you'd never been to before, and you'd probably never anticipated you were going to be there. But you had a conversation with Joseph, and he was like, "Why don't you come to Belgrade?" And that was a pivotal moment in your life. It's one of those stick or twist moments. Yeah, you could stay in San Francisco. It's comfortable there. You know people. You've got connections. It's easy to a degree. Or you could just take that leap of faith. You could book a one-way flight to Belgrade. So just how was that experience overall? Because I feel like a lot of guys, they have these opportunities in life to just go do something great, to write an amazing story, and comfort gets in the way. They choose comfort over character. So how was that experience for you? You know, booking a flight somewhere you've never been before, linking up with other entourage guys, making content together. How did that shape you?
Yeah, that, I mean, even now I look back on that being one of my greatest memories, but I can just imagine in 10 years, these are the times I'm going to look back on and go, wow, I can't believe I did it. And I can't believe I had guys in my corner helping me do it. So I'll even take a step back from Belgrade and talk about how I got to the position where I could fly to Belgrade, which is I was working on paper, what is assumed to be a very solid job in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, working in software sales, a lucrative career that a lot of people are trying to get into, fully remote. And because they didn't allow me to travel while working, I hit this point in life where I thought, but my dream is to see the world young. I don't want to wait until I'm 55, 85, whatever, in order to finally take those trips. I want to do it when I'm 25. And so, the first step towards that experience in Belgrade was I reached out to Christian. So when I talk about Christians in it with you for life, I mean it, because I've brought so many of these questions and potential opportunities up to him, and he's helped coach me through them, really by just putting a mirror up to what I'm saying and who I am, and helping me like figure out the way as a non-biased opinion. And so I remember one line you gave to me. So I had the meeting with the CEO, and he told me that I couldn't travel, or we would revisit the conversation in another 6 months. And so I looked at the life that I was living, and I was doing all right for myself. Money in the bank, remote corporate job. My family was gloating about me all the time. My friends thought I was sick because I was working in San Francisco, remote tech sales. But the day-to-day life that I was living, I hated. And the reason is, and it's funny because I could have the dates still, right? That's the thing. When I talk about this goes deeper than dates and cold approach. I already had the skills to get the dates whenever I wanted to. And oftentimes I was exercising that. But I didn't have the life that I wanted to live. I was waking up every day at 6 a.m. because I was working East Coast hours. I had to pick up the phone and cold call a bunch of executives all day and get hung up on. And then depending on how the day went, usually I felt like shit if I didn't make a sale, or I felt baseline like normal if I did make a bunch of sales. And there was no joy in my day. And I was dreading every time Sunday came around because I knew I had to get back into this routine again. So I sent Christian a message and I pretty much summarized my scenario. And I said, if you were me, what would you do? And you sent me a long voice note back. I've got it saved, but the one line that sticks out to me is first the two lines. The first is you asked me what is worst case scenario actually, and in my mind, I was thinking, well, I'll live under a bridge. Well, I'll never be able to get another tech sales job. And you helped me realize that actually, worst case scenario is that you move in with your parents, you go get another sales job or programming job, and you live the life that you're already living right now, which is dissatisfactory. Worst case scenario, I'm in the same position that I was in before making the decision to just say fuck it and fly around the world. But the second line you gave me was, Ephraim, if I were you, I would just quit the job and pursue a life of mystery and excellence. And I love that quote, man, because that, I was being all dramatic, sitting on my balcony, looking at the sunset, going, yeah, yeah, mystery and excellence. But it really did impact me because I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I mean, I could just live this predictable life here in San Francisco, and everybody thinks that I'm like ahead of pace compared to the other people my age, but I just didn't want that. I wanted more for myself. I wanted to see every corner of the world, and I wanted to do it with people that I was connected to. And so that was the first push for me to quit the job. Then I quit the job and I started feeling the pressure of like, okay, what am I going to do now? And so I was looking at places in the United States and South America. And then I got a message from Joseph, and Balthus sent me a message as well. And they were both saying, hey, man, I heard you just quit your job. If you don't have any plans, come out to Belgrade where we're going to spend the summer out here. And so what started as a period of loneliness and worry of the unknown, in 5 minutes turned into I have a plan now because of the guys that I'm connected to. Yeah, so they gave me an open invitation to go travel out there with him. Then all of a sudden I decided, all right, you know what? Let me just go for it. Let me do what I actually believe in. Let me teach other guys this skill set and try to make a life out of this. And I made a ton of progress with Joseph and Balthus. We were meeting up pretty much every day. We would approach together. We'd have our double, triple dates. We'd make content all day long. We'd do all these sit down podcasts. I'd record infields for them. They'd record infields for me. And the part about that vacation experience that I took away mostly was the roundtable discussions that we were having that will never be replicated again, because we were all at a certain phase in our lives. And every night we would sit down at a restaurant or a cafe and we would just be talking about our future visions and what we wanted to do in the world, how we wanted to change the world and how we planned on doing it. And so I came out of that trip to Belgrade super inspired. Then we began that business coaching relationship that really expedited the process for me. And in a matter of 3 months, I went from living a life that I dreaded waking up for, even though I could have the dates, to flying around the world, going wherever I want, whenever I want, not answering to a boss ever again, not having somebody control my schedule. Yeah, meeting the people that I want, doing the things that I want, and most importantly, impacting the world to the degree that I think I'm capable of. Sure, I can write software. Sure, I can sell software, but I want to change the world and change lives in this fashion. And being a part of a network as solid as the Entourage gave me the encouragement and the self belief to actually just pull the trigger and make it happen. So I couldn't stress enough how important, especially in 2025, the concept of a network is, because you can try to build this skill set on your own, but you're really selling yourself short if you do, because not only are you wasting months to years of your life, but you're also eliminating the possibility of immediately being connected with guys like myself, Joseph, Balthus, Christian, and every member of the entourage. We're literally worldwide. Yeah. So you get an instant invitation to where everybody is, and you can recreate your life in a matter of weeks, months, and in my case, this has been a year, 2-year journey now. And month over month, life just keeps improving. It's just crazy the progress I've made, all because I'm connected to such a stellar network. So
Yeah, I think guys hear it, like they kind of hear it and they just think it's some like bullshit marketing. Oh, you're not going to be able to build this skill on your own. Okay, fine. But then they do just get to a point, like the guy that I've been coaching today, where he's like, "Oh, I actually get it now. Like, there's no fucking way I would have done 35 approaches on my own to the level that he's actually done it at. Like ballsy approaches as well on really attractive women. And now he's like, oh, it's not actually marketing. It's just truth. And the best marketing, that's exactly what it is. The best marketing is true. That's why it works. So I think guys get to that realization usually by going down a path of frustration and beating themselves up and living with regret. Lying in bed at night thinking, "Oh, I should have approached that girl in that supermarket, but I didn't do it. It's all right. I'll go out next week. I just need a little bit more theory." But I think, yeah, what's going to make the best story? That's a mindset I've installed into myself now because I think we're all guilty of it. Like we've almost got this conflict between us, right? It's almost like that small animalistic side that just wants to go back into the cave and be comfortable and safe and nice. And that's always there pulling against us. But then we've got something, I would say, probably more related to the soul. Like, what is your soul craving right now? It's adventure, it's excellence, it's mystery. And in order for you to get there, you almost have to say no to those animalistic instincts of wanting to be safe and comfortable. And it is a scary journey. And I don't think it's a solo journey. I think that is why a lot of guys struggle with something like daytime approach because they've been brainwashed. I was brainwashed when I started that you had to be the solo purist. It had to be 10 sets on your own, no excuses. You had to log your sets, you had to record your conversations, you had to file it into a spreadsheet. And if you even dared linking up with a wing, you were cheating. And it's like it's such a backwards mentality. Certainly in 2025, you don't want to be the guy on his own, wandering around, putting approaches into spreadsheets. I mean, you can, but it's not the life that I wanted to live. And I do think that holds guys back. It's the conditioning from the industry as well that you need to be the solo player, lone wolf, no wings, no connection, has to be London, Oxford Street on a Saturday, has to be with local girls, can't approach tourists. I'm like, who even created this shit anyway? A lot of the guys who created like the game and all this stuff, a lot of them were just feminized losers. And they needed to add all of these tricks and routines and layers in order to feel like they were worthy, in order to feel like they were enough. But what we're prioritizing is just the removal of the bullshit. It's very simple. It's like, I'm a man, you're a woman, I like that. Most of the women who you approach, they're probably not going to like you. That's okay. There's 4 billion on the planet. Some of them will like you for who you are as well, without even having to change anything about your style or your face or your haircut. Again, if you want to do those things, awesome. But I do think a lot of guys have been handicapped by the bad advice from this industry, which almost made them confused to get started. Because, like, oh, I need to learn these routines. I need to become a conversational master. I need to have all of the techniques in my back pocket. I need more theory. And really, no, you just need to go out and get rejected 100 times, and you'll feel like a completely different person. So I do think that really makes guys suck in this space is the programming from the industry itself, which made them feel as though they had to be these pickup robots.
it's a sad it's sad advice that they're being fed to, because a concept that's not talked about enough that is so abundant in the entourage is the fun that we have. When I link up with guys like Joseph and Balthus, and when we had our retreat in Barcelona earlier this year, it was so fun to approach girls with my mates around. Yeah, guys that I had just met, but it felt like we've known each other for years because we've been connected through the entourage. And it didn't even feel, that's the thing. We talk about transcending the skill set. It ceases to become cold approach at that point. And it's just guys having fun, chatting shit, walking down the streets of Barcelona or London or Belgrade, and just acting upon their impulses and their desires. And I see a girl that I know Joseph would like, and I give him a nudge and I go,
That looks like you're tight, my man. And he's in there, right? And it's like, then, and Baltus and I are having fun, just approaching a pair of girls or just chatting while Joseph's in set. Then we all go to a restaurant. Yeah, we have a good time there. And as we're eating, or before the server comes with our food, Balthus gets up and runs over and he goes, "Boys, I'll be right back. I gotta go chat to her." And there's no spreadsheets involved. There's no metric tracking involved. It's all just guys having fun, having built the skill set and sharpened it to a point where we can just act on impulse when we want to. So it's unfortunate that the people that try to build this solo are being fed that, like, if I get asked about my close ratio in my comment section one more fucking time, it's just ridiculous that they're thinking about this so methodically. Yeah, who cares? Who cares about any of these metrics? As long as you're improving, yeah, as far as where you started to where you are, as long as you're able to get the dates, and as long as you, most importantly, are having fun doing it, then who cares about ratio and percentages? It doesn't matter. It's going to be different for every person. And none of the guys in the entourage track it anyways. Yeah, we're the best collection of guys with this skill set. So that should teach guys something. Yeah, none of us do any of this tracking metric stuff. All we do is prioritize chasing the identity of the person we want to grow into and then having fun along the way while on that journey. That is specifically what we prioritize. And now we rock up to any country in the world where cold approach isn't outlawed, and we're able to take over the city in a matter of hours. I mean, we've done it multiple times now. Barcelona being my favorite, where I was able to meet a bunch of guys for the first time. And it's like everywhere I looked, I just saw an entourage member in set on a date over there. Now Baltus has approached two girls over there, and it was just such a good time. So yeah, just to bring it back to that first point, this is supposed to be fun. Guys don't understand that when they first get into this space. And I understand, because it's hard to make something fun when you're deathly afraid of it. But that is why it's important to get connected to guys that have already pushed through that fear, because not only will it expedite your process, but it allows you to realize that on the other side of this mountain of fear is a whole lot of fun. You just get to enjoy life. If I wanted to go find a girlfriend in Alicante, I could probably do it in an afternoon of just approaching. Yeah, and so, like, that's the power you're getting here, is just wherever you go, you can now create fun. Fun through association with other guys, fun through romance with the beautiful local girls or tourist girls or whatever the fuck you're into. So rather than approaching this space so militantly, I'd argue that people should do it the same way the entourage does it, which is, let's just enjoy the hell out of life. Yeah, we got a long journey ahead of us, and we might as well make it as enjoyable as possible. And the last thing to end on there is, I guess, what I just said in that last sentence, which is, you've got a long journey ahead of you. Life, day to day, and especially over the span of 3, 4, 5 decades, it does start to feel really long. So if you're living in a reality right now that you don't like, specifically when it comes to romantic scarcity, do you want to keep living in that position for months, years, or decades? Or would you rather wake up every day knowing that you've got a skill set in your back pocket that you can apply whenever you want to? Because that is going to change how satisfied you are with your life when everything is said and done. Yeah, is how you feel about yourself and your position day over day over day. And that's what I'm really learning through this skill set, is how to prioritize myself right now as well as my future self. Because for too long I was prioritizing my fears that were all made up in my head anyways. But now, instead of deciding to just work the tech sales job for another 6 months, just at the opportunity to travel, I just said, fuck it, let me just do it right now and figure it out along the way. And it was the best decision I could have made. So,
Yeah, I heard somebody describe fear as false events appearing real, which I really like that. It's just such a beautiful acronym. False events appearing real, fear, which is really what it is. It's these hallucinations that we've got in our minds which cause the limitations. And then usually the limitations are caused by a lack of evidence as well, or an abundance of the wrong evidence, because maybe you didn't get girls growing up as a kid. So it's like the evidence you've collected is I'm shit. But then if you don't replace that with new evidence, you're running on an outdated script in your mind. So you need new evidence. That's what happened today. The guy approached so many that he was like, I don't understand what I was scared of. Like his worst reaction, a girl looked at him and said sorry and kept walking. That was his worst one today. And he was like, before they emerged, he was like, I don't know what he thought in his mind. I thought, oh, maybe the police are gonna come. Maybe she's gonna throw a coffee in my face. Maybe the boyfriend's gonna come out the bushes and kneecap me. And it's like we do suffer more in imagination than in reality. But now he's got 35 new reference points to know that it's okay to do, but more importantly, it's okay for him to do. Because that's really what guys are saying when they're like, oh, cold approach doesn't work. They're saying this thing that I half assed and tried hasn't yielded results for me. It's like saying sales doesn't work or marketing doesn't work. It's like, no, it works, but you need to be the guy who knows how to make it work. Otherwise, nothing fucking works. Fishing doesn't work. I could say that about fishing. I've never been fishing in my life. So if I go to the local lake and hoist my rod into the pond, I'm probably not going to catch anything. Doesn't mean that fishing doesn't work. Doesn't mean the fish don't like me. It's just that I've not become an adequate fisherman. So I'll probably just go find someone down the Dirty Trumpet, my local pub, and be like, hey, Bob, will you teach me to fish? And he'll be like, yeah, 3 pints of Guinness. Okay, done. And then I'll become an adequate fisherman because Bob will teach me. But I think a lot of guys, they just blame external factors. Oh, the fish don't like me. Oh, I've got the wrong rod. Oh, I need more theory. No, you just need to find the right person to help you become an appropriate fisherman. That's a really nice analogy. But anyway, where can people find you if they want to learn more about who you are, what you do, and see your content? How can they learn more and potentially work with you?
Yeah, so I've got a YouTube channel. It's called Pull University. I made this channel a couple months after Christian coached me back in 2023 in Warsaw. And it started out as just a passion project. I didn't know what it would blossom into. In fact, only a year and a half into the channel did I realize, oh, I actually see a huge vision and an impact here. So, yeah, what I do is very similar to what Christian does. I've got a slightly different market, usually guys that are more introverted, guys that are younger, around my age. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, people reach out to who they resonate most with. So I don't put any limiters on anything. But if you're interested in just seeing some of my journey and of some of the guys that I've coached, because I post their journey as well, you can find me at Pool University.
What content can they expect to see from you over the coming months? Because you did 30 days of filming in London. So what can people expect to see on your channel when they subscribe and turn notifications on? Press that bell.
Ding. Yeah, mate. That was an intense month that I had. I actually Christian linked me up with his cameraman, Dirty Dan, and so
Shout out.
we had a
Shout
yeah,
out.
shout out Dirty Dan.
You're down with
I
his
doubt
jelly
he's
beans.
watching this, but if he is, the Jelly Bean Man. Yeah, that was good. So over the next coming months, you'll find Isaac's Belgrade series. I'll finish rolling that out, and then you'll find infields of myself in London. And I love showing my rejection, so you'll see plenty of how this skill set actually looks when put into practice, rather than me trying to just show my highlight reels like most other fucking creators do in this space. Yeah, Christian taught me that directly, is just own everything. And so you'll see the approaches that go well, the approaches that go shit. But most importantly, you'll see how I manage myself through the approaches that don't go my way, because that truly is the skill set here. It's learning how to attempt and then learning how to not lose enthusiasm when the attempt doesn't go your way. That's really all this is. So yeah, that's the content you can expect to find over the next few months.
Yeah, that's superb. I suppose that's like a final thing why guys do suck with women, because they might attempt it once, it doesn't go very well, and then it's like, well, I'll just stop there. You know, I knew this wouldn't work. But you do need to develop a very thick skin with this. I think you obviously had a background in sales. I had a background in magic. Neither of those things are necessary, but I do think if you've got a thick skin, then you'll do very well with something like Daytime Approach. If you were knocking on doors, if you're doing cold calls, if you've built any sort of personal brand which allows you to get publicly attacked by anonymous trolls, you need thick skin for all of these things. And I think one of the biggest reasons why guys never are consistent with this skill is they just can't take the feedback. Because I think it's it's a paradox because we want guys to be narcissistic, but we also want guys to be realistic as well. So I think a lot of guys think that they're currently better than they actually are. And when they get a no or a rejection or a blowout, which most of the time is just a girl who's not available, it really affects them because they've almost got this false impression of who they actually are. So I think what I'm saying to guys is yes, be narcissistic, have these delusions of grandeur, but it's more so being delusional that you can become that person, not that you are that person. Because I knew I wasn't that person 5 years ago, but I had delusion and unfiltered narcissism that I could become that person. And I made my actions align with my ambitions and I reversed engineered the process. But I do think that that sells a lot of guys short where they haven't developed the thick skin and they also think they're better than what they are. So they just think, oh, she's got bad taste, or can she not see what I can see? And really, you need to develop that thick skin because if you've not desensitized yourself to rejection, this isn't for the faint of heart and you'll get humbled really quickly. And I think when that does happen to guys, it is that stick or twist moment. The first time you approach and the approach goes bad, you're going to have a decision to make there. Like we say, it holds a mirror up to who you actually are, not who you think you are, but who you actually are. Because I think you only really learn about a guy when the chips are down. Yeah. Like, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to react? And I think that is a big separating factor from the guys who become great with women and the guys who don't. And it's not about the external factors. Obviously, all those things are great and they're good to have. But I think if you've got that internal resilience to, as you would say, not lose enthusiasm when things don't go your way, that is a superpower. In the modern world as well, where a lot of people are just special snowflakes and they think, oh, woe is me, or this is so bad, or the world's against me. It's like, nah, dude, like most women are just not going to want you. And the quicker you can come to terms with that, the better you can just approach without giving a fuck about the outcome. But I do think that's a really important point, the ability to have that thick skin. You had that on day one. I think that's why you've done really well with approach and also with your personal brand as well. If you don't have a thick skin, you're going to get humbled, and it's not for the faint of heart. Is daytime approach.
Yeah, that was probably the best thing I brought into our immersion experience in 2023 was I'd seen your rejection reels and I was able to connect the dots that that was also probably going to happen to me at certain points. So I came to terms with that before I ever even met up with you in Warsaw. So if guys could show up to the coaching experience with Christian already aware that they're just going to have to go through something similar, that they're nobody special, they're going to have to take their licks just like every guy in the entourage has, then they're going to set themselves up for success when they do get coached by you because that's all you really need. You might not have the thick skin, but to be able to understand that you're going to need to develop it is enough. And to be willing to get back up when your ego gets bruised and battered and thrown into the pavement, just the ability to get back up is the number one deciding factor among the people that build this skill set versus the ones who don't. So, but obviously, you've got somebody in your corner, which makes that process 99% easier. It's like if you're trying to pick yourself up off the pavement and you've never done so, it just becomes so much more difficult. I remember before our experience in Warsaw, I went out to the city center a few times. I couldn't even get myself into a conversation with a girl. I was so afraid that I wouldn't get the reaction that I wanted. And I think on our first day of approaching, I did like 13 or 15 in an hour and a half. And then we spent a lot of time after that refining the approach. But having somebody in your corner makes this process manageable and it makes this skill set feasible, honestly. Doing this on your own is just, it's pretty unrealistic. So, yeah, I mean, if you've been watching Christian's content for a while, history says you've not made a move yet, but we're not getting any younger here. Just because you've not reached out for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or if you've just come across the content and you're wondering what the fuck we're even talking about, have a browse through his channel because you'll see where Christian started, and to see where he's at now and the impact he's having on the world now. It's incredible to think that daytime cold approach is what got him from point A to point B to where he's at now. And so, yeah, you've got access to a guy who has not yet reached his prime yet. And I said this years ago on our streams, when your prices were even lower and when you're even more accessible. I said, reach out while you can. So he's reach out while you can is what I'll say, because I imagine this guy's going to start charging $500,000 in a year or two. Who knows? Because that's the level he's gotten to. That's how solid the entourage has gotten now. Is he's not even looking to add more guys to the equation. He just wants to add the right guys who he knows will be active in the community and actually help push this movement forward. So, yeah, if you've been on the fence, there's no better time than now, because you might not have access to this version of him in a year to 5 years down the road.
Yeah, interestingly enough, that's a conversation I had with the guy that I was coaching today. He was like, I was going to make the jump a couple years ago, but at the time, I think he said it was £1,000, and he was like, that was way out. And it allows guys such as yourself to have these empire visions and to push further in your career, creating content, traveling the world. Success is contagious at the end of the day. So, yeah, was there any closing thoughts that you wanted to leave on, apart from, hey, Christian's great, join the entourage, yada yada yada. There's a link below the video, but just anything that you might be valuable, anything extra for the guys that you wanna leave them with? Any closing thoughts? There is a link below the video as well. It's not the link below the video is not for my website. It's actually for my testimonials page. So if people want to listen to testimonials of guys who've worked with me, please do that. Evidence has got the loudest voice. But yeah, any sort of like words of wisdom to leave the young Padawan, young Padawan. I guess it's a plural. Any words of wisdom to end on?
Oh man, yeah, just a couple here. The first is, we've said it a few times, but you're not getting any younger. So if you're not satisfied with your reality now, the excuses might change, but any excuse will do. So I would encourage you to just get this area sorted as soon as possible, because yeah, I just remember who I was prior to learning this skill set, and I was just living a life that I wasn't satisfied with. And now to be able to wake up every day at the time that I want, around the people that I want, in the country that I want, without having to respond to a boss, is it's just crazy to think I got here through Cold Approach. So yeah, the last thing I'll say, gotta sing your praises as always. I'll switch it up a bit this time. If guys do click over to my channel, if you watch any of the recent infields that I've created, recognize that as smooth or capable as I may look and collected on camera as I may look, 2 years ago, before meeting Christian and being coached by him, I was visibly shaking, sweating, nervous, and too scared to even say hello to a girl in public. That's before working with Christian just 2 years ago. And now, if you do end up seeing any of those infields, the the progress that's been made is just, it's almost indescribable. And that's all because of association with Christian and the entourage. So if you can just dissect what I'm saying here, I guess the point that I'm driving home is, before meeting Christian, I was in a position in life that I didn't like. I was going months to years at a time without getting laid. And I was living around friends and relatives that thought that everything was okay on paper, but behind closed doors, it wasn't. And now, 2 years after our coaching experience, I do what I want, when I want, with who I want, for how long I want. I'm connected to a network of guys globally that I can go and visit at the drop of a hat, assuming our schedules line up. They've got open doors for me. I've got open doors for them, and we're just having a lot of fun. Yeah, and at the end of the day, like he says, we're taking this to the moon. Yeah, he's got his brand that he's been building for 5 years. Now I've branched off and I'm beginning to do something similar. We've got guys that own different businesses that have completely exploded their own income because of association in the entourage. And we've got a lot of examples of guys like me as well that have worked very predictable careers, but were too scared to do anything outside of that. Who, after joining the entourage, decided, "Fuck it, now or never. I'm just going to go for it." That's the kind of potential you have when you join a group as solid as the entourage. So I would encourage you to reach out to Christian and just give yourself a chance. Yeah, maybe you're not a good fit, but it would suck to go the rest of your life and then look back on the empire that's being built and go, I wonder if I could have been a part of that. Instead, I just encourage you to give yourself a shot.
No, that's completely fair. I'll put the link for the testimonials below, and I'll put a link for your channel below as well. I think this is the best that the quality of the connection has been on this stream. So sometimes the YouTube algorithm gods just work like that. But I have seen live streams are getting more popular on YouTube. I don't know if you've noticed this, but they've started introducing like a lot of new live stream features. So I'm like, why were these features not available a year ago when I was doing one of these every single day? Imagine that. Imagine that. So I might take it back up again. I might resurrect it. There's still this thing inside of me which is like, do you want to do that? Do you want to go another year? Make a video every single day. That was brutal. And it was at such brutal times. I was speaking with a guy today, and he's like, you know what? I think I watched almost all of those live streams. I made like 387 of them. It was a fun process, but I don't know if I'd ever go. I don't know. There's something inside of me which is like, oh, maybe one more year. Maybe we should just do it again. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But no, it's been good reconnecting anyway. Looking forward to seeing what the future holds for you. Awesome to see that you got connected with Dirty Dan and you're making those infields, and yeah, you've got a shitload of content coming out. So I'll post the link below this. Guys can go over, gobble up your content, and then yeah, when they're ready to pull the trigger and they want to work with you, then they can follow the links on your channel and do that. But yeah, hopefully we'll do more of these. It's always a joy to sit down and shoot the shit. And yeah, all right, good. Enjoy your evening in Alicante.
Yeah, we'll do. You as well. All right, boys. Have a good night.
Stay sexy. Bye.